Have you ever wondered why some nights feel peaceful, as if your spirit drifts through the stars while others seem heavy, filled with strange dreams or restless awakenings? Ancient mystics believed that sleep is not just rest. It is a sacred crossing, a return of the soul to the invisible realms where it renews its strength. But few understood this truth as deeply as Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet. Through thousands of readings given in a trance state, Cayce often warned about something most of us overlook: the subtle energy of what we wear to sleep, and how even the color of our pajamas can open or close the gates of spiritual protection. To modern ears, this might sound like superstition, yet beneath it lies a principle both timeless and scientific. Every color vibrates at a certain frequency. It is not merely a pigment, but a wavelength, a tone in the great symphony of creation. Just as sound can calm or agitate, color too has the power to harmonize or disrupt our field of energy. Cayce understood this long before quantum physics gave language to the idea. He often spoke of vibrations as the very fabric of the soul's reality, vibrations that respond, amplify, or repel depending on the energies we attract around us. When we sleep, our conscious defenses dissolve, our thoughts slow down, our heartbeat softens, and we enter a state of spiritual receptivity. In that vulnerable openness, we are like a door left ajar in the night. The energies we have drawn to ourselves during the day, through emotions, habits, and even colors, flow freely into our subconscious. Cayce taught that colors, especially those closest to our skin while sleeping, act like silent messengers to the soul. They can either echo the divine harmony of the universe or dissonate with it, creating a barrier to guidance, intuition, and inner peace. He warned particularly against one color, black, when used for sleep. To him, black was not evil, but dense, a color of absorption, of inward contraction. It gathers energy but does not release it. When we wear black at night, Cayce said, we may unknowingly seal ourselves within that density, blocking the subtle exchange of light and vitality that happens as the soul travels beyond the physical. He suggested instead softer, luminous tones, white, lavender, pale blue, rose, colors that breathe, that invite clarity and protection. In his words, let the garments of rest reflect the peace you seek. If this seems symbolic, perhaps that is the point. The world of spirit speaks in symbols because symbols bridge the visible and invisible. Think for a moment of a candle. Its flame is nothing but vibration made visible, a dance of color and light that transforms darkness into a quiet sanctuary. The color we wear at night works in a similar way. It creates a sanctuary around the body, a subtle temple for the soul's nightly pilgrimage. What if choosing your sleepwear was not a matter of fashion, but a ritual of alignment? What if the simple act of wearing light, harmonious colors could invite gentler dreams, deeper rest, and clearer intuition when you wake? There is wisdom here that transcends culture and time. Indigenous traditions, Eastern philosophies, and even modern chromotherapy all echo Cayce's insight. The Navajo speak of colors as living spirits. In Ayurveda, each chakra corresponds to a hue that governs certain aspects of consciousness. Modern therapists use light and color to treat depression, fatigue, and emotional imbalance. Whether through science or mysticism, the message converges. Color is not decoration. It is communication between matter and spirit, and sleep, that most intimate dialogue between our body and soul, deserves the language of harmony. So tonight, when you fold your clothes and prepare for rest, pause for a moment. Look at the color that will accompany you into dreams. Feel it, not with your eyes, but with your heart. Does it feel heavy or luminous? Does it remind you of comfort, peace, or love? Perhaps, as Cayce suggested, the simplest way to invite protection during sleep is to choose the vibration that mirrors your highest self, the one that welcomes the night not as darkness to be feared, but as a vast ocean of light where your spirit is free to drift and be renewed. We often underestimate how profoundly our surroundings shape the subtle language of our energy. Think of your bedroom for a moment, not as a physical space, but as an atmosphere. Every object within it, every sound, every tone of color whispers something to your subconscious. The soft gray of a wall can calm, The deep red of a curtain can ignite, and the pale gold of morning sunlight filtering through the window can awaken memories of serenity you didn't know you carried. When Edgar Cayce spoke of energy blockages during sleep, he was not just referring to fabric or hue. He was reminding us that our sleeping environment is an extension of our own vibration. What we choose to wear is simply the last layer of that energy field. Science, in its own language, has begun to approach this truth. Studies on color psychology have shown how different wavelengths of light influence human physiology. How blue light can delay sleep by suppressing melatonin, while warmer tones can induce relaxation. But what Cayce intuited was something even more delicate. That beyond biology, colors interact with consciousness itself. Imagine, for instance, a person who wears red pajamas to bed every night. Red, in its essence, is the color of passion, survival, and stimulation. It belongs to the base of the energetic spectrum, the root of the spine. It grounds us in the material, but it also stirs the fires of the body. If worn constantly during the hours meant for restoration, that vibration may keep the soul tethered to activity, unable to fully ascend into rest. The body sleeps, but the energy remains awake. Now contrast that with white or lavender. These tones carry the vibration of release and surrender. They are like gentle winds that sweep through the chambers of the mind, clearing the residue of the day's emotions. They whisper to the soul, "It is safe to let go." Cayce's guidance was not about superstition, it was about resonance. Just as a musician tunes an instrument before playing, we can tune our energy before sleep. The fabric touching our skin becomes a silent song that tells our spirit whether to prepare for battle or for peace. And most of us, unknowingly, choose the battle. But what does it mean, truly, to be protected during sleep? Protection, in Cayce's understanding, was not about warding off external forces. It was about maintaining alignment with the higher self. When we sleep in harmony with our natural vibration, our dreams become luminous messages. Our rest becomes a dialogue with divine intelligence. When we are misaligned, through stress, anger, or the wrong energetic conditions, our sleep becomes fragmented, our dreams confused, our mornings heavy. The color we wear then acts as a frequency of remembrance, reminding the soul of its original light, its natural rhythm within the cosmic dance. There is something deeply humbling in realizing that such small details, something as simple as the color of your sleepwear, can reflect your relationship with yourself. We live in an age obsessed with control, productivity, appearance, performance. But color is a silent teacher that bypasses control. It doesn't demand, it doesn't argue, it simply reveals. When we choose darker tones at night, perhaps we are reflecting a desire to disappear, to hide from our own light. When we choose brightness, perhaps it is a subconscious act of faith, a way of saying to the universe, "I trust the night to hold me gently." The pajama becomes a prayer, woven not with words but with wavelength. If you ever doubt the influence of color, consider this. When you stand before the ocean and gaze at its endless blue, does your heartbeat not slow? When you walk among trees wrapped in green light, do your thoughts not soften? Color is the memory of creation, each shade a note in the song of existence. We are constantly bathed in it, shaped by it, healed or disturbed by it. So it is not surprising that Cayce insisted we treat color as sacred, especially in the hours when the soul returns to its source. The garments of sleep, he said, should mirror the purity of the temple. Because in truth, our bodies are temples, of breath, of spirit, of divine consciousness resting within matter. And so, tonight and every night after, let your preparation for sleep be a quiet ritual of awareness. Choose your color with intention. Touch the fabric and ask yourself, what frequency do I wish to carry into my dreams? What emotion do I wish to wake up with? This small act of consciousness begins to change the atmosphere not only around you, but within you. In time, the night will no longer feel like a descent into darkness, but like a return to a realm of light that recognizes your vibration and welcomes it home. There is a forgotten intimacy in the way we prepare for rest, a tenderness once sacred, but now lost in the noise of modern life. In ancient times, sleep was seen as a spiritual journey, and the act of preparing for it, a form of prayer. Priests, monks, and mystics would cleanse their bodies, anoint their temples with oils, and wrap themselves in garments chosen for purity of vibration, not out of superstition, but out of reverence for the transition between worlds. Edgar Cayce was echoing that same reverence when he spoke of sleep, not as an escape from life, but as a continuation of the soul's education. The body rests, he said, but the soul never sleeps. And if the soul continues its work while we rest, then surely it deserves an environment aligned with its purpose. Think of the moment just before you drift off. There is a silence there, fragile and vast, where thought dissolves and only awareness remains. In that silence we cross a threshold, a liminal state between waking and dreaming. Cayce believed that in this space, the soul reconnects with higher dimensions of consciousness, often bringing back fragments of wisdom disguised as dreams. The colors we surround ourselves with at that moment act as guides or filters for those energies. Soft blues and whites, for instance, encourage higher communication and clarity, allowing the intuitive self to receive impressions without distortion. Dark or heavy tones, on the other hand, can anchor the spirit in denser planes, leading to restless or confusing dreams. It is not punishment, it is resonance responding to choice. Modern psychology has another way of describing this. Carl Jung, who also explored the world of dreams, spoke of archetypal symbols that carry specific vibrations within the collective unconscious. Colors, in Jung's view, are among the most potent of these symbols. Blue is the depth of the unconscious, yellow the light of awareness, red the pulse of vitality, black the mystery of the shadow. To interact with color is to communicate with the very language of the psyche. Cayce and Jung, though worlds apart in method, pointed to the same truth. The soul speaks in color, and every night through what we wear, we decide what conversation to have with it. Yet there is another dimension to Cayce's warning, one that reaches beyond the bedroom. When he cautioned against wearing dark colors during rest, he was not only speaking of pajamas, he was speaking of energy carried from the waking day into the sleeping night. The real garment of the soul is not cloth but thought. Our emotions are the dyes that color the aura we wear to bed. Anger stains it red, grief turns it gray, fear darkens it to black. Love, gratitude, and forgiveness lighten it until it glows with the hues of dawn. So even if your pajamas are white, if your heart is clouded, the vibration remains dense. The true cleansing begins within, when you lay aside the garments of resentment and dress yourself in peace. Perhaps this is why so many people wake tired even after long hours of sleep. The body may have rested, but the energy field remained tense, wrapped in layers of unresolved emotion. In this sense, the ritual of choosing light-colored clothing becomes symbolic, a physical reminder of a spiritual truth. Just as we cleanse our bodies before sleep, we can cleanse our energy with intention. Cayce often advised a simple prayer before lying down, not as a request, but as alignment. Let my soul be a channel of light this night. To whisper such words while clothed in the vibration of purity is to create a sacred space around yourself, a cocoon of protection woven by consciousness itself. If we begin to see sleep as a sacred act, every detail of our nightly routine takes on new meaning. The dimming of lights becomes a soft descent into the inner temple. The folding of clothes becomes an offering. Even the choice of a pillow or blanket becomes symbolic, an embrace of the physical body as it releases control. Nothing in this process is trivial. Everything is a dialogue between matter and spirit. To live this way is to remember that spirituality is not a separate practice from daily life. It is the quality of awareness we bring to it. Cayce's message was never about fear. It was about reverence. He did not say avoid this color or else, but rather honor your vibration, for it is sacred. And so when you prepare to sleep tonight, imagine your pajamas as the skin of light that carries you through invisible worlds. Let your thoughts be gentle, your emotions light, your intention clear. You are not simply falling asleep. You are entering the classroom of the soul, where lessons are whispered in symbols and dreams. Each color, each breath, each silent intention becomes a bridge between what you are and what you are becoming. And when morning comes, It is not merely the body that awakens, it is the spirit that returns from its nightly pilgrimage, carrying a little more wisdom, a little more light. There is a quiet revelation that comes when we finally understand how everything, absolutely everything, is energy in motion. The body, the thoughts, the colors, the very breath that moves through us are all expressions of the same infinite vibration. To sleep, then, is not to withdraw from that vibration, but to merge back into its rhythm. Cayce's message about the color of our sleepwear was never about superstition or aesthetic. It was a reminder that even the smallest details of our lives can either attune us to harmony or disconnect us from it. The soul does not rest in indifference, it rests in resonance. The more aligned we become with that resonance, the deeper the restoration, the clearer the dreams, the gentler the awakening. Think about how often we drift into sleep without awareness, scrolling through noise, our minds cluttered with unresolved fragments of the day. In that state, the soul finds no open door, only walls of static thought. But when you begin to approach the night as sacred, when you soften the light, slow the breath, choose a garment of calm hue, and release the noise of the world, you change everything. You are no longer collapsing into unconsciousness, you are entering communion. The white of your pajama is no longer just fabric. It becomes a field of peace, a soft glow that tells the universe, I am ready to listen. The color becomes prayer, and the act of rest becomes participation in divine rhythm. Cayce's deeper teaching was that protection is not something we summon, it is something we become. A protected soul is simply one that remembers its light. When we live and sleep in harmony with that remembrance, we no longer fear darkness because we know darkness is not an enemy. It is the canvas upon which our light is seen. The warning against dark colors, then, was not about avoiding shadows. It was about learning to carry light within them. We are meant to illuminate, not absorb endlessly. So, wearing bright or gentle tones during sleep becomes a symbolic rehearsal for how we move through life itself, radiating rather than hiding, opening rather than closing, trusting rather than defending. This realization transforms the simplest of gestures into acts of awakening. Folding your white sleepwear after washing becomes a moment of mindfulness. Setting it aside before bed becomes a reminder that purity is not perfection, it is presence. It is the willingness to be uncluttered, unguarded, transparent before your own soul. And as you wear those colors that breathe light, you are not obeying a mystical rule. You are participating in an energetic truth. The night becomes your ally, the bed your altar, and your dreams the scripture of your own unfolding consciousness. It is also worth remembering that energy does not stop with the self. The colors that soothe you ripple into the world around you. When you rest in harmony, your energy field becomes radiant and generous. You wake with more patience, more empathy, more capacity to hold peace. You become, in your quiet way, a point of healing for others. This is how transformation begins, not through dramatic rituals or rigid disciplines, but through the subtle alignment of inner and outer worlds. Cayce's teachings always carried this hidden compassion, that spiritual practice is not about escaping life, but about sanctifying it, every gesture, every breath, every night's sleep. So if you wish to follow his wisdom, begin not with fear of what color to avoid, but with gratitude for the awareness itself. Look at your sleepwear tonight and see it as a mirror. Ask yourself, what vibration am I inviting into my rest? What frequency am I sending into my dreams? Choose colors that speak peace to your heart, white for clarity, lavender for healing, blue for serenity, rose for love. And if ever you find yourself drawn to darker tones, do not judge them. Instead, ask what part of you seeks the comfort of silence, what truth awaits in that depth. Even the night sky, after all, is black only so the stars can shine. And when morning comes, pause before rising. Feel the light returning to your body, the breath deepening, the soul anchoring once more into form. You have traveled far, and you return renewed. In that soft moment, you carry the energy of your sleep, the color of your peace, into the waking world. That is the secret Cayce wanted us to remember, that the boundary between waking and dreaming, between the physical and the spiritual, is an illusion. Life is one continuous vibration. Whether dressed in sunlight or moonlight, the soul is always speaking in color, always seeking balance, always remembering home. So tonight and every night after, may your rest be luminous. May your garments reflect not just your style, but your spirit. And when your dreams unfold their quiet messages, may you listen with the calm heart of one who knows. Protection is not found in fabric, but in frequency. It is not given, it is cultivated, and it begins simply with awareness.